the Board of Education for Wilmette Public Schools, District 39, this Monday, January 28th, 2019. Will the clerk please call the roll? Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Thank you very much. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. Principal Sue Kick will introduce Harper 4th grade Geography B students to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. We have our Harper 4th graders here who were contestants in the GOB, and they're here to warm your hearts tonight with all the snow that we're having. We have done this at Harper for 10 years now. In fact, there's a couple students in the audience who competed in the GOB a few years back. The first level of the competition is at the classroom level, and then the next level, each classroom has 2 finalists. So those are the students that you see here tonight. And then following that, one of the students here was the finalist and competed at the state level, and we're waiting to hear those results back. We started this GOB just as a natural connector with the curriculum. Since 4th graders really study the historical events and their impact, this is a really nice way to kind of weave that in. And all grades K to 8 work on map skills, so this really solidifies not only the study of the U.S., but other studies as well. Students are going to introduce themselves, and then a few students are going to ask all of you a few GOB questions.
Hi, I'm Lily. Hi, I'm Ellie. Hi, I'm Hannah. Hi, I'm Sunghan.
Hi, I'm Simon, and my question is, name 2 countries that are on 2 continents.
Who wants to take it? Board members? Who wants to take it? Okay, Tracy, go for it.
I was going to say Soviet Union, but it doesn't exist anymore. So I thought Russia?
Russia is one.
Yes.
And
Russia
continent.
is one, and the other one.
Asia and Europe are the continents.
And anybody want to take a second
Yes.
one? Ellen, give us another country.
No.
It's not Egypt.
I would think Turkey.
Yes, Turkey. So it's Russia and Turkey.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and my question is, the Baltic Sea borders which continent?
Baltic Sea. Anybody on the Baltic Sea? John?
Europe.
Correct.
Very good, very good. All right. You're doing pretty well.
My name is Will.
My name is Andrew, and I'm going to ask you a question. Which state is closer to Canada?
Is closest to Canada?
Is closer. It's a choice question, Idaho or Missouri.
Oh, Idaho or Missouri. Okay. Anybody, anyone want to take that? Idaho or Missouri closer to Canada? I think one of those borders on Canada, so I'm going to go with that one. Yeah.
Idaho.
Excellent.
Correct.
How'd we do?
Are you sure?
All right.
Please stand for the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much, and congratulations on competing in the GOB. And nearly getting us caught up here. So I would like to remind, Sarah Quinn shared the abundance of artwork from McKinsey students that's behind me. First graders created line projects and line monsters using paper crayons and watercolors. The line lions were made with India ink for bold emphasis and skinny markers for texture. Students used diffusing paper and liquid watercolors to create their self-portraits. Second graders studied Roy G. Biv color, order, and rainbows to create collages using layers of construction paper. They also created color monsters after reading Monsters Love Colors. The autumn leaves were made using observation, symmetry, and colorful painting techniques. Third graders learned about using lines and value to create depth for their op art tunnels, and fourth graders created fall trees using India ink, tempera paint, and liquid watercolors. They also studied warm and cool objects for their warm and cool compositions. Thank you very much, and if you get a chance to check out the artwork back here, they're really quite beautiful, as they are every month. I would like to remind everyone that this is a public meeting and all of us are among neighbors and fellow residents. Appropriate conduct is expected from everyone. We ask that people speak only when called upon, that everyone treat each other kindly and with proper respect, and refrain from distracting behaviors such as loud conversations, cheering, clapping, or booing. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to approving the minutes. I seek a motion to approve the Board of Education and Executive Session minutes for December 17th, 2018, and the minutes of the December 21st, 2018 Special Board of Education meeting.
I move to approve the Board of Education and Executive Session minutes for December 17, 2018, and the minutes of December 21st, 2018 Special Board of Education meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. The motion has been made and seconded. Board members, are there any corrections, omissions, errors, comments, anything else? Great. Then we'll seek to approve the minutes as submitted. All those in favor, please indicate by saying yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries by general consent. Thank you. That brings us to our public comment section. This is an opportunity for the audience to address the board. Are there any audience members that would like to speak at this time? I don't see any, so yep, we're good. So we'll move on. That takes us to board reports and the committees. First, we have school finance from Mr. Panzica.
The Finance Committee met as part of the Committee of the Whole on January 14th. The effort to find an outside firm to review our finances resulted in an RFP with no satisfactory responses. However, in the process of soliciting these responses, a software program, Forecast 5, that organizes school finances was identified. This program is used in some other districts nearby and in many other districts around the area, and is capable of generating reports that will help us analyze our expense areas and compare them to other districts. It is hopeful that this can result in some reports as soon as in a month or two. We also discussed student fees, which will be presented later tonight. We then generated an item for the next strategy committee meeting where we will look at several proposals for prioritizing budget items, and student fees will be included in this discussion. We just received our financial audit in December. The firm that did this has been used by District 39 for several years, and we have the option to extend our contract for one more year. We chose to take up this extension, but agreed to put out a competitive RFP before the next time for renewal. And finally, the fiscal year 2020 budget calendar was discussed and will be presented later tonight. And the next meeting of the Finance Committee will be on Monday, February 11th.
Thank you very much. And now we have facility development from Mrs. Schaff.
Right. The Facilities Development Committee met as a part of the Committee of the Whole also on January 14th, 2019 here at the MEC. We discussed two topics. The first is the High Crest Phase 2 construction. We went out to bid for the project on January 21st and expect completed bids back on February 13th. The bids and final recommendations will be reviewed at the February board meeting, and the board will vote on whether to move forward with construction in June when school dismisses for the summer. Our second topic was Harper Construction in preparation for kindergarten enrichment. Our construction manager continues to review budget estimates for the proposed first phase of the kindergarten construction at Harper. We plan to go out to bid in March and present bids for Board of Education approval in April. Construction is scheduled to begin in June of this year. TIP classrooms will be renovated during the summer of 2020 and then move to Harper for the start of the 2020 school year. The next facilities meeting will also take place on Monday, February 11th at 8 a.m. here at the MEC. And Strategy Committee?
Yep, go for it.
Keep going, rolling on
Yep,
that?
roll
Okay, so
on.
the strategy committee meeting was also held on Monday, January 11th, as part of the committee of, January 14th, as part of the committee of the whole meeting. We discussed two topics. The first were current strategic plan updates. In preparation for our meeting tonight, Katie Lee walked the committee through the few of the developing strategic initiatives and discussed progress that has been made this year. In addition, the committee reviewed the annual business initiatives, which will be presented later in tonight's meeting. The second topic was our 2019-2020 suggested CRC topic. The committee discussed briefly the next CRC topic and agreed that we would like to recommend the CRC consider studying sustainability as its next topic, and this will be discussed with the CRC in June.
Great, thank you very much. Our next committee report is the Education Foundation. I believe, Ms. Kearney, you have that.
Yes. The Educational Foundation met January 16th, 6:30 here at the MEC. Basic reports are everything's right on track. They've pretty much exceeded their budgets so far for fundraising initiatives by 20%. What's coming up is Trivia Night, February 2nd. That's sold out pretty quickly, like it always does. That's going to be at a new location, as a reminder, High Crest Cafeteria, and different times, 6 to 11, along with a different layout. Trivia is going to be shortened a little bit so people can, quote, hang out and party later type thing. And there's a new trivia company being used. I think it's run by a former Jeopardy champion or participant, so that should be interesting. Bingo night is right around the corner after that on March 1st from 6 to 8. That's at St. Joe's Church, also another, a new location for that. And then pub crawl is on the agenda too for May 16th, where the foundation doesn't run that, but they are the recipients. I believe it's the chamber, Wilmette Chamber, who's running that, but they get the recipients of the proceeds. And next meeting's gonna be February 13th, 7 p.m., and I believe that's the group grant committee meeting.
Great, thank you very much, and I hope, or I will encourage everybody to participate in all of those many fundraising activities for the Educational Foundation. That brings us to the IASB EdRed report, which is a new report for us this time, and Ms. Sternweiler has it.
Yes, as a board, we recently decided to include regular updates on IASB and EdRed. While we've always been members of IASB and benefited from their certification courses and services they provide, for the most part, past boards have found that most of the other meetings, educational seminars, and business conducted by IASB, aside from the annual III conference, has not been particularly relevant to our district. While this is still partly true, it's not true in regards to IASB's resolution process. We learned our lesson from the most recent III conference when we almost missed a vote on a resolution regarding whether or not to arm teachers in the schools. It was a vote that we wanted to have a voice in, and we should have been aware of much further in advance. For this reason, this board has determined that it is in the district's best interest to appoint a board member each year to represent our district as the IASB liaison and our voting delegate to attend the delegate assembly at the annual III conference. The timeline for the IASB resolutions process is as follows. It opens annually in April, and all proposals are due by June. Any member school boards may submit plans to change or add to IASB's position and beliefs as written. Proposals must include a statement of a resolution and rationale. A resolutions committee comprised of 21 school board members representing each of the association's divisions reviews and deliberates on each proposal and recommends to adopt or not adopt each measure. The delegate assembly is held annually on the Saturday of the joint annual conference. Each member school board is entitled to one voting delegate at the delegate assembly, which currently comprises of 846 school board members of school boards. At the assembly, the proposed resolutions are brought to a vote of the assembly. A discussion is held before the votes are taken. We must be present to vote. Delegates vote to adopt or not adopt the resolutions as put forth by the committee. if approved, resolutions become position statements or belief statements in the ISB Constitution, and thus give ISB staff direction on legislative positions. This is the key reason we need to be involved in this particular process. So that's the summary on that. In terms of the kind of day-to-day goings on, the next thing coming up with them, which we will not attend because it's not particularly relevant to the moment for us, is the their Alliance Leadership Summit. I looked into it. It's not relevant to us, but it is happening February 26th and 27th. And it's in Springfield, but I looked into attending it, and we will not attend it. But then there's EdRed, which stands for Education, Research, and Development. EdRed is another organization in which our board has taken an increasing interest, as they seem to be doing some pretty interesting work. I think Ms. Kearney has attended quite a few of their meetings, and yeah, for quite some time. And then Mr. Panzica attended their last meeting, Friday, January 11th, and sent me his summary of what they discussed at that meeting. I wanted to first give a bit of background to bring everyone up to speed on EdRed. It was established in 1971 as the voice of suburban schools, as a research and lobbying group. They now represent over 75 suburban school districts, predominantly in northern Cook, Lake, and DuPage counties. Legislatively, EdRed's area includes all or part of 19 of the present 59 Senate districts and 30 of the 118 House districts. The primary purpose of the most recent meeting was to summarize potential activities in Springfield this legislative season. In particular, there was a lengthy report that summarized EdRed's past positions on potential upcoming tax legislation, especially tax swaps. We are currently just monitoring EdRed to learn more and see if it would benefit our district to become more active in this organization. For now, we will continue to attend their open meetings and report on any exciting news or developments. Their next meeting will be at Maine South High School, February 1st from 1:30 to 3 p.m.
Great, thank you very much. And that brings us to our legislative update with Ms. Kearney. Thank you.
Thank you. And I won't be at this Friday's meeting for EdRed. Okay, so the 101st General Assembly was sworn in on Wednesday, January 19th. Bottom line is, things really haven't started to get rolling, but as a precursor for the future, you can, leadership will look much the same as House Speaker Michael J. Madigan will continue to lead the Democrat majority in his chamber, while Senate President John Cullerton remains to lead the Democrat majority in the Senate. Where am I going? So they're talking about it should be pretty much smooth sailing for any agenda that's on the table. There's not a lot of controversy at this point. It's also estimated that over 300 bills have been submitted in this new assembly. And I'm sorry, my glasses aren't working, and have been filed, but that have been filed in both the House and Senate. With focused attention on the minimum teacher salary bill and a bill requiring, as a lot of people have been talking about, the school day to be a minimum of 5 clock hours. That's been kind of in and out of the legislature right now. Newly elected Governor Pritzker was inaugurated on Monday, January 14th. He'll be bringing forth a legislative agenda of his own as well. Issues expected to emerge include state taxation changes, including a proposal for graduated income tax rates, teacher salaries, raising the minimum wage, the legalization of recreational use of marijuana, pension revisions, and 3% salary limitation, looking at the pension payment ramp, and a statewide infrastructure plan. And they actually convened today, so we'll see what's to come.
Okay, thank you very much. And those are our board reports, so that brings us to information items. And Dr. Lechner.
Yes, the first one is written communication. The board received communications from Cindy Levine supporting the extension of the levy We also received communication from Dmitry Asinsky regarding Thomas R. Guskey's presentation to parents about grading systems. Next, we have administrative announcements. The first is the League of Women Voters Student Government Program, and we have an audience full of them this evening. For nearly 50 years, the junior high 8th grade students have participated in the League of Women Voters Student Government Program. In this program, students learn about local government and civil service. They're assigned a local official. This person could be a village trustee, a school board member, or a District 39 administrator. Tonight, students interviewed their governmental counterpart, this preparing them for a mock board meeting where students demonstrate their knowledge of current issues and debate the merits of each topic. The mock board meetings will be televised in March. Next, we have select administrators' contracts. Ellen Crispino and Romy DeCristofaro have served as interim positions for the past year. We're recommending them for permanent positions as business manager / CSBO and administrator for student services for the 2019-20 school year, and their contracts are ready for board approval. Next.
And can we just say on behalf of the board, congratulations to both of you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Next, the board meeting scheduled for Monday, April 22nd will be moved to Tuesday, April 23rd to allow the canvassing of electoral votes from the April election. We will note that 3 board seats are open for election this spring, and we will honor outgoing board members at that meeting. Next, Freedom of Information Act. The board received 3 FOIA this month. First from Nathan Melick of the Illinois Retired Teachers Association requesting the names and emails addresses of 2019 District 39 2019 retiring staff. Jennifer Richards of the Chicago Tribune and Jody Cohen of ProPublica requesting all logs, records relating to student incidents from August 1st, 2017 to the present for timeout, seclusion, confinement, restraint, parent notification, injuries, school personnel involved, and staff training materials. And finally, we received a FOIA from Bethany Simpson of Smart Procure, a commercial FOIA requesting any or all purchase orders and vendor names and contracts of information from July 1st, 2018 to present.
Thank you very much. I think that brings us to the strategic plan updates.
Yes, on September 24th, 2018, the board approved the 2018-19 strategic plan. This executive summary report will focus on mid-year updates, including annual business section like school safety, standards-based learning and reporting, instrumental music, science curriculum, sustainability practices. And Kitty Lee has this report.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Lechner. On behalf of all District 39 administrators, I'll be sharing mid-year updates on the annual business section tonight. The first topic is school safety. In District 39, ensuring the safety and security of students and staff is a primary and ongoing goal. As shared during the August 27th Board of Education meeting, administration compiled, reviewed, and prioritized all safety recommendations into 3 phases. Listed under Phase 1 were items involving process or procedural changes, and the district had the ability to address them immediately. For example, active shooter training was provided for all staff by Wilmette Police Department, and safety procedures for large group events were developed and implemented. Listed under Phase 2 were items requiring additional planning and budgeting. For example, additional security cameras and monitoring stations were purchased and installed, and door locks were replaced with ones that could be locked internally. Listed under Phase 3 were items under further consideration due to either substantial cost or unrealistic implementation. For example, the installation of metal detectors or bulletproof glass are Phase 3 items. The chart contained in the board report offers an updated status on each Phase 1 and Phase 2 recommendation, and due to the sensitivity of this topic, additional items and more detailed information will be shared with the board members in closed session tonight. Standards-based learning and reporting. The next topic is standards-based learning and reporting. Illinois State Board of Education provides districts with content area learning standards that serve as a guide in many different areas. Designing curriculum, adopting curriculum materials, designing lessons, delivering instruction, monitoring student progress, and sharing student progress information with parents. And according to this year and last year's strategic plans, District 39 was prepared to use updated progress reporting documents and report cards for grades 5 and 6 at Highcrest Middle School. However, based on feedback and questions posed by parents, we paused the implementation plan and organized a parent informational night with Dr. Tom Skusky, an expert in the field, on January 16th about grading and reporting on student learning. The purpose of the District 39 reporting system is to provide a communication framework among students, parents, teachers, and administrators that fosters each student's academic growth and the development of learner characteristics. District 39 believes in the separation of product, which is a measure of achievement, process, learner behaviors such as homework completion or class participation, and progress, a student's status toward achieving content area learning standards when reporting about a student's progress in learning. So moving forward, after much reflection, District 39 will provide product, process, and progress information starting in fall of 2019 in the following manner at Highcrest Middle School. The product, students' achievement, will be noted by a letter grade. Process, the learner qualities or behaviors will be reported separately from achievement in the categories of engaged, prepared, and self-directed. And for progress, we will identify a small number of priority learning standards for each content area and measure those. We believe this format addresses the variety of needs expressed by all stakeholders, parents, teachers, and administrators. The next topic is instrumental music program. Last year, feedback from parents, students, teachers, and administration prompted an analysis of the impact of scheduling small group technique classes during the school day. As a result, administration recommended an improved rotation schedule that ensures that band and orchestra students would not miss more than 4 classes per content area as a first step. In addition, jazz ensembles are now offered as an extracurricular activity, a self-sustaining after-school club managed by the district, in order to assist in sectional scheduling at Wilmette Junior High School. Reflecting on the new scheduling process, teachers have informally reported positive results from their perspective, and administrators have noted a decline in negative feedback from parents and students during the first semester. In order to confirm these observations, instrumental music teachers collaborated with administrators and created student and parent surveys. Students were asked to complete the survey last week during their morning ensembles, and we believe the results will reveal whether the sectional scheduling produced positive results or the need for future improvement. The board will be updated during the February board meeting, as the results have not come in fully yet by the students. A 6 to 8 year time span is a typical time frame for a curriculum review cycle. And since this fall signaled the start of the 7th year since the last science curriculum review, the Department of Curriculum Instruction assembled teacher representatives from all grade levels in special education to collaborate in a 2-year review. So the Science Curriculum Review Committee members have reviewed current curriculum maps and studied the dimensions of the next generation science standards, noting areas in which District 39's curriculum maps and materials are aligned and areas that are not. Dimension 1 is the science and engineering practices. The practices are the behaviors that the scientists engage in as part of their daily work. And Dimension 2 is the cross-cutting concepts, those concepts that can be applied in all areas of science and may link other content areas to science. And the last dimension is core ideas, important ideas and information for students to understand and know. The next steps include evaluating the quality of curriculum materials presented by publishing companies in January and February, with the intention of piloting some of those materials next year. And the final topic is sustainability planning and practices. District 39 continually seeks to ensure positive environmental practices during construction projects through the use of sustainable materials, grant funding applications, and cost analysis. The 2 current addition renovation projects being undertaken by District 39, the Board of Education, is Kindergarten Enrichment and Highcrest Middle School's Learning Commons. They are being designed to meet and exceed rigorous energy codes and standards. Meetings with STR architects have focused on energy and water conservation features, as well as environmental quality enhancements in the mechanical equipment, electric systems, and plumbing. Some examples include environmentally friendly refrigerant used to run rooftop units, vacancy sensors to turn off lights in unused spaces, and metering faucets in bathrooms. In addition, STR partners have reviewed the current status of grants available at this time for construction and energy conservation, and currently there are no grants available, but they will continue to monitor their existence. And next month, the board will be presented updates on the continuing initiative and also the instrumental music program survey results, and the administrators are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Board members have questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. It's, as usual, a good report. I have a couple of comments / questions. So first on the security topic, I wanted to congratulate the administration and anybody that's been involved. There is a lot of items identified very quickly with a lot of research, and the impressive part is that they've been implemented and implemented quickly. You know, there's been some places, some school districts that have lists, and they've identified items that are important that they can't get around to. I think it was a group effort by everybody, including the board, supporting it, that when we identified items that made sense, that we implemented them immediately, and I think that was very good.
Thank you.
On the, I'll just call it the grade issue.
Sure.
I could never remember the titles of these. See, the standards-based learning and reporting. Okay.
Yes.
During the January 16th presentation, it was mentioned that there would be some follow-up meetings. Have those been scheduled, and are those like you mentioned something like, or somebody had mentioned like focus groups or whatever.
Absolutely.
Have those been scheduled yet?
So in the last communication by Principal Kelly Jackson, within the text of that email, she requested anyone who is interested to volunteer and to fill out a form. And so we're gathering that information right now, and then we will schedule those focus groups. Those focus groups are meant to help us, the district, define what type of rating system that we would like to use that best communicates with the parents, and we want to gather that feedback from them directly. So we'll present some options and share with them what we think would be best. We know that for product, they are very on board with the letter grades, and that is what they want, and that meets their needs. But when we talk about learner descriptors, we can go with a frequency table, a 3-scale, a 4-scale, but then how do we then communicate the standards progress? And we want to make sure that whatever system we use communicates clearly with them, and so the focus groups will help us identify that.
That's good. As a side note, the good news is that my son has moved on. The bad news is that I don't get some of the emails that I used to get. So if, especially for the 5 through 8, if I could get back on the mailing list. I'll deal with that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was. I'm sorry. That was assumed. Thank you. And then one more, as long as I've got the microphone still. So in the science curriculum, there's a couple of items that that I just wanted to kind of, I know you've been spending a lot of time on it, but I just wanted to kind of highlight. There are a number of items that I always like to look at. Are we preparing our kids for New Trier? And there are several curriculums that they start off with that people can take, the students can take tracks, an engineering track and several other, a computer track, I think. I think it'd be good to at least bounce back our science curriculum and see if we're educating our students on what their options are. Because I know looking at the titles, it's sometimes hard to just, you know, in February when they have to pick their classes, to know what those classes mean. if they've never heard of what is engineering. So if part of the science program can tie into how to at least make a decision on whether anything like that might be interesting. The second one that occurred to me was, and you're probably doing this already, but one of the newer things, new maybe within the last decade, but newer than when I went to school, which is more than a decade, is that there's actually a lot of work that's been done in physics that leads into chemistry, that leads into biology, and the classic has always been biology, chemistry, physics. Again, it's an option that logically makes sense. There's some issues with, are prepared for physics, whatever. But if you could at least spend a little bit of time looking at how to, again, educate our students on that option, and or prepare them for that option if they choose to go that direction. I think that if they choose that option, there's some advantages in terms of how the curriculums flow, but it's totally different than the way most of us has ever learned science. So
I just want to say we're pretty familiar with physics first. We are.
yes, okay, thank you. All right, and that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other board member comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Just kind of on the vein what Mr. Panzica was saying, if you're going to be just not too hyper-focus on one track like science, there's lots of different tracks at New Trier, so if you're going to be focusing on presenting to children their options in engineering, et cetera, I'd ask that you present that band is a major and music is a track at New Trier as well, in addition to all the other things. I know that's a lot for you to do, but I would just hate to be one-sided and only think about science and math.
We have a very specific transition process to New Trier. We certainly can look at that. A lot of this is New Trier driven.
I agree.
At the moment, we're looking at our science curriculum, and we're going to take a look at, at what we're going to reflect on our practices.
Secondly, on the science note, I've just always had this question. I know there's a separate assessment, the next gen, or I don't know that it's a separate assessment. Is there a science assessment that's given in addition to Park?
Yes, there is a state mandated assessment, the Illinois Science Assessment, and it's given in 5th grade and 8th grade.
Okay, that's and do you just, how long has that been in effect?
So I can only recall that, so I know it's been for the past 3 years, but probably prior to that as well. I apologize, I don't know that.
No, that's okay, and I don't know it either because, my kids missed the 5th grade one, I think, and I'm sure they took it in. When is that given?
It's given, ballpark, November, December.
Okay, and just, do you find it useful?
We have just recently started reviewing the data because we have the EduClimbers data warehouse now. So I do know that the 7th and 8th grade science teachers have also reviewed their data, and they find it useful.
And is it as cumbersome, or was it as, I don't know, introducing Park seemed to be absorb the district for a while, and how to address that? Was that assessment the same kind of pattern, or just kind of seemed to slip in? That's why I'm...
Yeah, quite honestly, from when Melanie Horowitz was here to me, there was a very smooth transition.
And then back to the standards-based grading discussion, and you might have answered this question through the focus groups, but I had a question written down as far as process and progress. How will this be communicated? If it was like, approaching meets or exceeds type thing. And then I think you said that that's what the focus groups are for, is kind of to discuss how to communicate that.
Yes.
What were you gonna do?
Initially, for the progress, it was going to be the meets progressing towards and experiencing difficulty. But I think that what we'd like to do is have an opportunity to explain what those descriptors mean to the focus groups, and then gather feedback on whether it meets that goal. If it doesn't, then what should we be using in order to communicate effectively progress towards standards? The learner qualities and behaviors are usually a frequency scale, so somewhat, all the time, you know.
We've had that anyway, right?
Yeah, we've always had that, correct. So really, what was proposed initially was process and progress. What we've added back is a letter grade notating the student achievement, and it's based on a lot of feedback and input and conversation and reflection and Dr. Gusky's advice to us.
And just so I'm clear on it, from what I understand, that product is remaining or being added to whatever. In other words, we will have a letter grade.
Correct.
In addition to all this other stuff, regardless.
Yes.
Okay.
And just to clarify, the pause created the current document is being used this year. So any updates or changes or add-ons will start in the fall. But the format that the parents are used to will continue to be used this year.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other comments, questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you for your report, first of all. I have some questions on the sustainability planning and practices.
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify, because I know we've talked about this a lot, but there were some things left off, and I just want to make sure that they're on the record.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of things listed, and I just want to make sure they're looking into, when you're talking about materials for the construction, moving forward with these new constructions, they're looking into solar possibilities. Because I know we had talked about just continually, I know, it changes very frequently, and we just never know when it's going to work. So that they are looking into solar. I know we discussed if there's carpeting put into anything that, using carpeting that's not toxic, that has no toxic emission. And then we had also discussed, outside the building spaces, anything that had to do with we talked about green roofs was another possibility, and rain gardens. So it just had to do with runoff and how they were designing the spaces. So these are just, I wanted to make sure that they were on the record.
I just want to add that this is part of the CRC review for next year as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
It kind
part
of
of the package.
It kind of got confused, so I knew that we were discussing it when we were discussing the buildings, and I just want to make sure that it was still part of the plans for, that it was always part of the discussions.
Yeah, I just want to remind you that this is the current plan that the board approved.
Okay.
So things like rain gardens were not built into the strategic plan, but they can be for future plans. So that's why I'm going to ask the CRC to look at that very topic and include these concepts, so yes.
So as we move forward on each of the buildings, though, can we look at this each time? As we move forward on the constructions?
Yes, but just
to
remember, it's
save
for future plans. We need to
Yes.
embed these, because we're just reporting on what was approved for this year.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments, thoughts? I just had one on going back to the progress and the standards-based grading. I want to make sure that I understand. We have achievement, which is the one we've added, and then we have the third one is progress. When I hear those, when I think about progress, I think about a change. I think about, a change over time or a change in development, right? And so one thing and we talked about this back a while ago when we were talking about the standards last spring, I think. So the idea of grading as meets, progressing towards, or what's the third one, I'm sorry?
Experiencing difficulty.
Experiencing difficulty. So to me, those descriptions are descriptions of status relative to standards. That's different from progress, right? So if I say, well, they meet the standards, that's not saying what change has happened. It's
Yes,
a
I
really important
understand.
point to me. Okay, because to me, that's just achievement in a different, it's just achievement against a scale of standards. So I'd love to see us have, I think the three are great, actually. Seeing them, I think they're terrific. But I'd love to see the progress one be a real measurement of change rather than just achievement relative to a different scale.
So this is the type of feedback we were talking about. So our intent is what you just described.
Right.
But the way our indicators or the way that we're expressing or communicating is not conveying the same thing. So what we need to do now is, okay, if that's not meeting, then what should it be? Should it be a 4, 3, 2, 1, and we define what that is? Or how do we convey that continuum of progress in a different way? Our intent is exactly what you described, but we're not doing it well there. So we're gonna try to fix that for Highcrest.
So let's just say, what a terrific growth mindset that you're just demonstrating, right? Okay, we're not there yet. We're going to do better. We're going to get better. So that's terrific. Thank you. But I did want to just sort of reflect on that in part because I'm not going to be invited to be a part of the breakout sessions with the parents. So, thank you very much for the great report. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all the progress on the strategic plan.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, and with that, I think we move to annual business.
Yes, we'll start the budget calendar. Annually, the board is required to establish its fiscal year and appoint a person to prepare a tentative budget. In addition, a budget calendar is developed and shared with the public. Ellen Crispino, anything to add?
Just briefly, a budget calendar is developed to ensure that all the publications, hearings, and formal adoption of the annual budget are in accordance with state statute, and this budget calendar, as presented, will meet all the state's requirements.
Great, thank you very much. Do you want to move on to January?
Yes. Each January, a child find account report is generated and provided to the State Board of Education for special education funding and monitoring trends in disability. The overall number of students who qualify for special education services in District 39 has increased from 504 students in 2018 to 559 students in 2019. The percentage of students with disabilities has increased from around 14% to nearly 16%, and Dr. Cristofaro has this report.
Thank you. Good evening. We currently have 559 students receiving special education services through District 39. With the decline in student enrollment and the increase in students receiving special education, the overall percentage of students with IEPs has increased to 15.72%, which is slightly above the state average of 15%. This graph shows the percentage of students with disabilities since 2010. The blue bars represent the total percentage of students with IEPs, including early childhood through 8th grade. This year, that number is 15.72% of our students have IEPs under one of the 14 possible disability categories. This is up from last year's 13.97%. When early childhood is removed, the red bars show the percentage of students in kindergarten through 8th grade who have identified disabilities. This year, that number is 14.17%, which is up from last year's 12.44%. We also track disability eligibility and analyze the numbers looking for trends. Specific learning disabilities continues to be the most prevalent, with 172 students eligible under this category. This is followed by developmental delay with 122 students and other health impairments with 96 students. In tonight's presentation, we will be reviewing historical data for learning disabilities, developmental delay, other health impairment, speech and language, autism, emotional disability, and intellectual disability. Learning disabilities is one of the areas that has remained relatively stable the last 3 years. The category of developmental delay covers the age range of 3 through 9 years of age. Most students in the early childhood program receive services with this eligibility, and many students identified in kindergarten through 2nd grade qualify as developmentally delayed. The number of students eligible under developmental delayed have been steadily increasing the past few years. We saw a decrease in our speech and language numbers from 2011 and 2012 when the DD eligibility category could extend through age 9. Speech and language numbers have remained relatively stable the last few years. Other health impairment covers medical conditions such as ADHD and anxiety disorders. We saw a 20% increase in this eligibility category since last year. Students identified with an emotional disability have increased the last 3 years, but are similar to the numbers of students identified in previous years. The number of students with autism continues to increase steadily and has nearly doubled since 2010. An intellectual disability is characterized by significant limitations in both learning and adaptive behavior and functioning. While this category represents a small portion of our student population, the number of students identified in this category is also increasing. These tables provide information about how District 39 compares with state averages. Overall, our percentage of disability category are similar to state averages, with the exception being the category of developmental delay, where we have a higher percentage of 22% compared to the state's 13%. Now that the developmental delay label can extend through age 9, one reason our numbers may be higher in this category than the state average is that many of our families request that we maintain this eligibility label for their child as long as possible. We often work with families on this, as our priority is to provide the appropriate services regardless of the disability label. This graph provides information on our out-of-district supports. The blue line represents students receiving services at the parochial schools through an individual service plan. The red line represents students who are outplaced in a therapeutic setting. We can see that there has been a decrease in students being served at the parochial schools. However, the number of students outplaced have gone up since last year. One of the main factors contributing to our increases in students with IEPs are the number of families who move here for our exceptional services. Over the past 5 years, we have had a total of 280 students move into the district with IEPs. The number of move-ins has ranged between 50 to 73 students each year since 2014. So far, during the 2018-19 school year, we've had 30 students with IEPs move into Wilmette. Actually, that number's increased since I sent you this report. By the end of the year, this number is anticipated to be higher. If you compare the number of students who have moved into Wilmette with IEPs over the last 5 years against our total number of students with IEPs, our move-in population would account for 50% of our students receiving special education services. We offer a wide continuum of services in District 39. In the table above, I separated student data by the levels of support required so that we could look at trends over time and better understand the changing needs of our student population. Over the last five years, our overall IEP student population within our schools in grades K through 8 has grown by 33%. As mentioned, this increase can be attributed largely to the families who move here for our services. Our inclusion and essential programs support our students whose needs can primarily be met in the general education setting, paired with opportunities for targeted instruction in a pull-out setting or co-taught environment. Students with this level of need make up our largest group, representing 82.5% of our overall IEP population. You can see that this group has increased by 29% since 2014. Our supportive programs, which also includes our therapeutic intervention programs, are comprised of our students who require social, emotional, and behavior interventions and supports. This group of students represent 9% of our overall IEP student population and has grown by 48% since 2014. Lastly, our comprehensive programs support our students with low-incidence disabilities who require support from a transdisciplinary team throughout their day to support the development of educational and adaptive behavior skills. Students requiring this level of support make up 8.5% of our overall IEP population, but have increased by 73% since 2014. Students within our supportive and comprehensive programs make up a smaller percentage of our overall IEP population. However, these growing groups of students have the highest needs and require the most staff support. We have responded to the student increases by evaluating our current program needs and adding additional certified staff positions. District 39 continues to offer a continuum of special education services to meet the needs of students with IEPs. Our inclusive programs, co-teaching, collaboration, response to intervention efforts, and related services combine to meet the needs of our learners. The increasing numbers and needs of our students has required us to add more staff and plan for additional supports. We will continue to monitor trends and respond to the changing needs of our students. At this time, I will answer any questions you may have.
Board members have questions, comments, thoughts? Yep.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate this. It provided some really great context, which I appreciate. It's a really good report. I think I'm curious because I know our services are excellent, and I know not enough about this area of education, so forgive me if this is a strange question, but is there a way to show how good our services are? Is it, because I don't know. I think that my understanding is that once, we have children who start with us, that we service them so well that a number of them, move into the general population of students. Is that something that we could see?
You're saying that they transition to general education?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the areas where we see the greatest impact or move-ins are the low incidence disabilities, where they're more impactful, and that would not be the case.
Okay.
Okay, other questions, thoughts? Go ahead.
Just as far as, I was looking at where the increases have been, and I mean, I can understand move-ins. We do a good job with autism, and when we don't, we know we're okay to outplace, et cetera, the more comprehensive needs. Mm-hmm. What strikes me is the increase in OHI. I don't imagine a bunch of people are moving here who have anxiety. So I want to know, I want to know the difference between emotional disorder and just in my head, I would see anxiety fall maybe there, but I might not know the entire definition, versus other health impairment. Can you explain that to me?
I can try.
Okay.
I'm not a psychologist, but for emotional disability, and honestly, a student with an anxiety disorder could potentially fall under either. And also, honestly, we often work with parents on what they're most comfortable with, depending on the need. But with emotional disability, it's often pervasive. It impacts relationships. It's across multiple settings. And it's, I guess that's it. Anxiety or OHI is just a little bit broader.
And do you see move-ins for OHI? Have people been coming here because they have excessive anxiety, moving to our district as a result of that, or maybe
I can't speak to that. I will say that I think we get move-ins across the board. But if I were to, and I'm not going to speculate, but I would say most of the phone calls that I get from families who are moving here are in younger grades. I think a lot of our students who are have a DD label are moving here, and then autism is another one. I can't say I get a lot because their child has anxiety, no.
And the reason I'm asking that question is, in 2000, there were 46 OHI. In 2019, there's 96. It's a significant increase year over year if you look across that. Yeah. So maybe an answer is, Dr. Lechner, that categories have changed for disabilities or what it allows, but I just want to pay attention to that. And then it also, And people do definitely move here as a result of the special ed services, as I would too. They should. People move here for other reasons too, just the overall great education they're getting, and I see a decrease, in student enrollment there. So I need some time to look at this and see.
I just want to clarify that OHI is way more than anxiety.
I know it's ADHD,
Yeah,
et
right.
cetera, but we've had ADHD has fallen under OHI
Correct.
back in 2000 as well.
Right.
So,
I don't think
yeah.
we can just say it's anxiety. Is all
I know, but I wanted to see what the difference was between that and an emotional disorder, and you answered it exactly how I thought.
I'll respond to you in
Yeah.
a more thorough later
Right.
when I can look at the criteria.
But that is a significant increase in other health impairment, which is not directly
Yeah,
a comprehensive
it's
name.
like developmental disability. It's a generic term that it has less of a strong label to it. So I think a lot of people are looking for those label neutral categories like DD, OHI.
Emotional's gone up too as well, though.
Other thoughts?
A little bit on the tail of that, I actually would question more, since I do actually understand OHI, other health impaired, better. What I don't understand, I know this is going to sound odd, what I wouldn't understand is the difference between multiple disabilities and other health impaired. Other health impaired actually, I understand very well as a, and I guess, my question is are these defined by the state, or are they defined by, okay, so these are defined by the state. Okay. And do you have the statistic on multiple disabilities, the percentage? Do you have a state statistic on that? So like the average percentage?
And I could probably get it for you. Was it not in my? Yeah, we have 0.05% in District 39, and state average is 1%.
Is 1%. So that is something that's like almost never used. Okay, that's why I'm just curious.
It's low.
So generally, it seems as if when a child has multiple diagnoses, multiple issues, the diagnosis given, the coding in the IEP given is other health impaired to catch all. So not multiple disability.
Right.
So that makes sense. Okay. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful report, by the way, very thorough. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Other thoughts? Yeah.
A request, really. It'd be helpful to see by grade where these disabilities are falling, to see if they're increasing, decreasing, kind of talking to what Mr. Cesaretti talked about, is whether we see children progress who have had an early IEP intervention, so to speak, and if they do get into the general ed classroom eventually, or we see OHI increasing over, in the upper grades maybe, something like that.
And we do see students discontinue from their IEP or maybe go to a 504 plan, so.
It'd be nice to watch that, to see that presented as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just before we go to other comments, I'm going to say real quick, I know that our League of Women Voter participants have to leave us. I wanted to say thank you very much for coming tonight, and you guys did a great job, so thanks a lot. Take care. Okay, let's continue with the discussion.
I had a quick logistics question. It looks like two of the grade schools had a significant increase. Are there any logistics issues that causes? And if the population for a given school grows by
Well, we always anticipate and look at projections and try to plan accordingly. We did, I know, have to increase some staff and move some rooms around, but we problem solve and we figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to add that not every school has every program. So if one school looks a little bigger, it's because they may have the TIP program for the elementary. So it's not.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
So I was just going to ask a resource type question. Our population, IEP population, special education student population is increasing and increasing pretty significantly. Is there a point where you feel like our resources will be sort of tapped out, or where we can't accommodate some of these students? Or are you guys always looking at that and how we
I think we're always looking at that. We're looking at it right now. We're planning for next year already. So, we have an obligation and to support our students, and so we're definitely planning ahead and going to make sure that the resources are there to support them.
So do you see anything that, like, we're getting close to the edge where we might say, oh, we need some extra classrooms here, or we need, I don't know, some additional resources in one way or the other?
I mean, I'm thinking like how Tip is moving over to Harper, and I don't think we're tapped out.
We're not. Okay, great. Okay, good.
Yep, go ahead.
I wanted to add on to Alice's questions in terms of, is there a tipping point where we need to do kind of operational or structural changes, right? Operational to the school day, or, right, we're literally embarking on capital improvements in all 4 elementary schools. Now might be the time to pause and reflect.
That's exactly what's going to be happening with the kindergarten enrichment. Like, for example, the Harper program has a space for a TIP program, for example. So when we look at Mackenzie, a lot of that is special needs improvements. Most of it is special. So the answer is yes.
Other questions or thoughts? Go ahead.
I just had a question on autism, because I don't know much about it, but I do see this number go from 0 to 54. And I'm curious, is that representative in the population as a whole? Because I'm surprised.
In the Wilmette District 39 population or national?
No, just national. Is this really a trend that it would go from
Yes.
almost negligible to?
Well, nationally,
fairly large
autism is increasing, and I don't know if it's increasing or if we're getting better at diagnosing it and identifying it and supporting it, but it's a national trend as well.
Okay, other thoughts or comments? Well, thank you very much for the report. And actually, just before we move on to the school calendar, I noticed that I forgot to ask for comments on the fiscal calendar. Before we went on, did anybody have a comment or thought about the fiscal calendar? Okay, I did.
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Bravo, moving up the levy, right? Did I get that right? Thank you.
Excellent point. Anything else? Great. Then let's move on to the school calendar.
Okay, last month, the board received a draft school calendar, and that's after having a lot of input from administration, teachers, the New Trier Township, its superintendents, and other schools. And we haven't made any changes since last month, so we now have a final product. The first day of school is scheduled for Wednesday, August 28th, and the entire township is starting school in the same week.
Excellent. Comments, thoughts on the school calendar? Great. And we'll move on.
So we're only recommending 3 changes to fees, which were discussed at the School Finance Committee meeting. First, we're recommending a $10 increase to 8th grade instructional iPad material fee for iPad insurance. This follows the practice that we've been doing from 5th grade to 6th grade to 7th grade and now 8th grade, so the 7th graders won't feel any different because they've been doing that since 5th grade. Second, we're recommending a 10% increase in athletic programs to cover our increased costs. And our after-school athletic programs are meant to be self-sustaining, and that should move us in that direction. And finally, we're recommending eliminating a fee, the $4.95 transaction fee for instructional material payments that are made through RevTrak using credit cards. Ellen Crispino, is there anything to add?
No.
Okay, board member questions or comments? Go ahead.
I just have a comment. I'm looking forward to the discussion regarding eliminating the possibility or looking at fees altogether, material fees. I think that's very important.
Okay. Other thoughts, comments, questions? Yep, go ahead.
Am I allowed to go, to go back to the calendar for just a question?
Well, hang on just one second. Let's get through the fees and then
Yes.
and let's go back. Okay. Other questions or comments on the fees? Good. Okay. What is your question on the calendar?
it's a curiosity. It has to do, I know that you work with New Trier, and they had been meeting for like the past year about changing the calendar. Does this coincide? They decided to kibosh changing it, yes?
This is where they ended up. So they ended up with starting the last week of August.
So we're
Yes.
in line. So they did not change, or they did change?
That would be a New Trier question.
Okay.
I don't even know what they were.
Okay.
Ellen, I think what you're referring to is the Wednesday late start. That was, I don't know where they stand on that, but I do not think it's happening. But the actual days starting and ending was not an issue.
Okay. Other questions? Great. Let's move on to financial auditing firm contract.
Yes, on an annual basis, the school code requires public school districts to submit an independent audit. In December of 2014, you approved a 3-year contract with Klein Hall CPAs with the option of an annual extension for up to a maximum of 5 years. With the completion of the 17-18 audit, we've completed 4 years. Now we're recommending the district extend the contract for one final additional year for the completion of the 2019 audit. Ellen Crispino, anything to add?
No, nothing to add.
Questions, comments? Thoughts? Great. Okay, then let's move on to the board policy review.
Yes, and these are first read policies for the Board of Education, and Dr. Glowacki has this report.
Tonight, you'll see a policy from Section 2, which is the board member oath. It's been updated, and the next 10 policies in Section 4. So I'm open to feedback.
Is it updated because of changes in legislation, or what did we, yeah,
Yes.
okay, that's what I figured.
I have a few
Yep.
comments. First of all, on the oath, I asked Ray this, but I just want to ask it again. Is this the exact wording that we need to use for the oath?
Yes.
It is, okay. I was hoping to streamline it a little bit.
Yes, me
Okay.
too.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, no, it's not. Okay, so let's move on. Under 4:30, which was 4:35,
Yes.
the term school treasurer is not not actually the title of our person. Isn't Ellen the business manager? Is that official title, or do we use school treasurer? I haven't use it.
The board approves the business manager as the treasurer, and I'm the secretary of the board.
You're the secretary.
Yeah,
So
so
we
these
call
are-
you the school treasurer? Is that?
Well, that's not
part
her
of-
job title, but that is a
I know.
function of her job.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it was a title, because I really never, I know you're the treasurer of the board, but I really never used that title, school treasurer. And I just want to make sure it's clear and consistent with what our titles are that we use in our district. Okay, so if that's it, so let's forget talking about that then. Under number 6.
Page 6?
Sorry. I'm in 4:30, authorized investments number 6, which is on the second page, page 2 of 6. The underlined paragraph, the interest-bearing bonds starts, do you see where I am, Heather? Okay. So when you get down to the bottom of it, it talks about instruments rated B in the third from the bottom line. B, rated at the time of purchase within the 4 highest general classifications and by a 1 rating service. But up above in number 4, we talk about the 3 highest general classifications and by the rating of 2 rating services. Do we want to be consistent from one paragraph to the next? I don't know if that's necessary, if it's.
I can look at.
It's something maybe to check it out. And then in number 7, right below that, the last line, the public funds so invested will be required for expenditure by the district and then or its governing authority. And do we have a governing authority? Oh, us? Oh, by the district? We've never referred to anything above the governing authority. Do we want that phrase in there? It didn't make that much sense to me. Maybe it's.
So it's been in there?
It has been in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just didn't know if it made any sense. And then I just have 2 typos, which I'll just send to you. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, go ahead.
I was reading through the oath again, and it's long. You know, it doesn't say anything about how we work together.
But just to be clear, it's legislation that says this is the oath we take.
Yeah.
That's why it's so long. That's why it
Yeah,
doesn't
I'm
say
good
anything.
with that.
Yeah,
But it's our oath.
You think we should add to the oath?
I do.
All
I do,
right.
because it's missing some stuff. Yes, Trey.
I'll respond to that.
I thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, that's pretty much, as you know, we've been discussing, and it kind of went to the wayside, board practices, and that is separate than the oath.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've argued, we take an oath.
Yeah.
That's good enough. If you got into the board practices, et cetera, it would somewhat become a little controlling in an oath.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that each board every 2 years changes, and the way they agree to work with each other could change, and that's different than a legally required oath that
All
you're
right.
mandated to say.
Under the code
Thought
of
I'd
conduct.
throw it out there. Yeah. So we could.
The
Well,
code of conduct that follows the oath,
Yeah,
number 8.
it's in there.
Speaks somewhat to that.
does the oath refer to the code of conduct? As in, we'll follow it? Yeah. Okay. I will stop now.
And by taking
Thank
this oath, you are, when you take that oath and join the school board, you are in effect, because this is policy, agreeing to adhere to the code of conduct.
Yeah.
Okay. Other comments or,
I actually have one more.
okay.
On 4:50, so third from the last page. In the first paragraph under number 3, it's talking about how we vote on the bills that need to be paid and when the treasurer can pay the bill. So in the 5th line down, these bills are reviewed by the board, after which they may be approved for payment by board order. Is it really, I was wondering if we should insert the word, instead of order, it should be vote, by board vote? I don't know, it's a new thing.
I don't know, because order means direction, like you're giving us the approval to pay the bills, which is different than a vote.
But
So
it then, but we vote, this is
You
what
do,
our
you
practice is,
approve
and then
them.
the next sentence says, approval of all the bills shall be given by a roll call vote, and the vote
Yeah.
shall be recorded in the minutes.
So,
So-
like, for example, in June, you give us permission, you give us an order or a direction to pay the July bills. So we go
We
ahead
give
and
an
pay
approval,
them,
yeah.
and then you approve them in August. So I think they're two different things, in my
Okay.
view.
Okay, so that's fine. Then let me ask you then, because in the third from bottom line, it says, I'm going to start up a little higher to read the sentence. The treasurer shall pay the bills after receiving a board order or pertinent portions of the board minutes, even if the minutes are unapproved.
Correct.
Then, here's the part I'm questioning, provided the order or minutes are signed by the board president and secretary or a majority of the board. Is that practice? I mean, because I'm not really sure, I know the minutes might be unapproved, but are unapproved minutes ever signed by the president?
No.
Or, so
That's a good question. We need to look into what that means deeper, because I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do.
okay.
Because it's back to July. The minutes are not approved till August, and that's when
No.
you actually then.
But, and I'm just
Right.
thinking about a regular meeting, like
Yeah, no, you're
tonight,
right.
we're going to approve
Right.
some bills to be
Right.
paid, but the minutes will
Yep.
not be written, and they will not be signed by anybody, but we go ahead and pay for them.
Yep.
Pay the bills, I mean.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, other comments? Okay.
I
Oh, go
will-
ahead, sorry.
I will email mine as usual.
Okay, thank you.
And
Great.
soon.
Yeah. Okay. This is, that takes us to our second opportunity for public comments. Would anybody in the audience like to address the board at this time? Okay, seeing none. Then we will continue with the agenda, which brings us to the consent agenda, or, action items in the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like pulled from the consent agenda? Seeing none, then Mr. Panzica, please proceed with the motion.
I move to approve the personnel report dated January 28th, 2019. I move to approve the resolution for the attached budget planning calendar as written. I move to approve Ellen Crispino as business manager, CSBO, and Ramona DiCristofano as the administrator for student services for the 2019-2020 school year. I move to approve the 2019-2020 school calendar. I move to approve the fiscal year 2020 student fees as contained in Exhibit A of the report. I move to approve the fiscal year 19 year-end audit services from the financial auditing firm of Klein Hall CPAs for a fee not to exceed $26,000. I move to approve as first reading of the Board of Education policies 2:80, member of the Board of Education oath and conduct, 4:35, revenue and investments, 4:40, budget as spending plan, 4:45, insufficient fund checks, 4:46, state and federal funds, 4:47, incurring debt, 4:450, paying for goods and services, 4:51, tuition fees, 4:60, purchases, 4:61, local purchasing, and 4:62, requesting goods and services.
And just for clarity, that was 4:50, paying for goods and services.
Okay.
You had an extra 4 in there. You're fine.
That's what's written here.
It's not 450 though. It's 4:50.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between December 18, 2018 and January 28, 2019 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $399,537.18. O&M Fund, $381,820.15. Debt Services, $120,830. Transportation Fund, $130,627.94. Capital Projects, $216,185, for a total all funds of $1,249,027. I move to approve the manual checks issued between December 18, 2018 and January 28, 2019 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $587,519.16. O&M Fund, $13,656.14. Transportation, $80.67. Tort, $480, for a total of all funds of $601,735.97.
Thank you very much. The motion has been made. May I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
John Cesarelli?
Yes.
Tracy Kearney?
Yes.
Mike Panzica?
Yes.
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 Yes. The roll has been taken. The yeses have it, and the motion carries. And that brings us to conference items. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? How about any good and welfare? Okay. Seeing none, may I seek a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss a student matter, collective bargaining, and specific personnel?
I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss a student matter, collective bargaining, and specific personnel.
Great, it has been moved and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes, the motion carries. We are now adjourned to executive session, and the time is 8:25 p.m. Thank you all very much for coming.